This is the video for Chapter 16, Section 7, The Mormons. Before moving into the section, we need to look over the scale. Remember, read over each place on the scale, and mark yourself before and after you complete the section. Let's look at a score of 3, or the learning goal. I understand the impacts the Mormons had on settling of the Great Basin area, especially in farming. If this is you, you will mark yourself as a 3, and you've met the learning goal. Let's also go over the few things we need to keep in mind, like the lesson essential question. What were the motives, hardships, and legacies of the Mormons that moved west in the 1800s? And the one section essential question that needs to be copied down and answered in your interactive packet. Why did the Mormons move west to Utah? And the last thing we need to cover before getting into the content, the vocabulary. What is a Mormon? A Mormon is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, which was founded by Joseph Smith in 1830. The Mormons were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Joseph Smith had founded this church in New York in 1830. Smith taught that he had received a sacred book, the Book of Mormon, from an angel. He believed it was his task to create a community of believers who would serve God faithfully. Smith's followers lived in close communities, working hard and sharing their goods. Yet, wherever they settled, first New York, then Ohio, Missouri, and Illinois, their neighbors persecuted them. Many people were offended by Mormons' teachings, especially their acceptance of polygamy, which is the practice of having more than one wife. Others resented the Mormons' rapidly growing power and wealth. In 1844, resentment turned to violence when a mob in Illinois killed Joseph Smith. After Smith's death, Brigham Young took over as leader of the Mormons. Young decided to move his community to Utah. There, the Mormons might be left alone to follow their faith in peace. Young turned out to be a practical as well as religious leader. Prayer is good, he said, but when baked potatoes and pudding and milk are needed, prayer will not supply their place. Young carefully planned every detail of their trek to Utah. The pioneers he led west stopped along the way to build shelters and plant crops for those who would follow. Even with all this planning, the journey was difficult. We soon thought it unusual, wrote one Mormon, to leave a campground without burying one or more persons. When he arrived at Great Salt Lake, Young laid out for his first settlement, Salt Lake City. By the time he died in 1877, Utah had 125,000 Mormons living in 500 settlements. To survive in this dry country, Mormons had to learn new ways to farm. They built dams, canals, and irrigation ditches to carry precious water from mountain streams to their farms in the valley. With this water, they made the desert bloom. Remember to copy down and answer the one section essential question for this section. Why did the Mormons move west to Utah? And the answer is for religious freedom. So, once you've completed the scales, marking them before and after the section, the notebook questions, the vocabulary, and copying down and answering the one section essential question, you've completed everything for Section 7 and you're ready to move on to Section 8.